welcome to day 2 of my 10-minute trainings. I'm going to give you a little bit more detail today about what happens to your brain and what you can do to stop these things from happening to your brain to reduce your own chances of any kind of brain health challenges, and in particular Alzheimer's disease and dementia. As you would have heard me say yesterday, being a woman does increase our chances, which is, not much we can do about that. If you're born with ovaries, you are at a greater risk of developing dementia. We don't quite know why yet. The scientists are still doing research into this. Potentially, there's a hormone link. My understanding at the moment is they're not entirely sure why. If you are overweight, that does really increase your chances. And if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, you're pretty much guaranteed. So you want to absolutely avoid getting type 2 diabetes. If you are pre-diabetic, there is loads you can do to improve your chances. If you are diabetic, there are certainly ways that you can reverse diabetes, because they are now saying that type 2 diabetes is reversible. So that's a great thing. So the other thing is age. Age is a risk factor. If you have reached the age of 85, there is a 50% chance of you developing dementia. But if you flip that, there's a 50% chance that you won't develop dementia. So I'm going with those odds. I'm going with a 50% that I'm not going to be developing it. And as I say, with women, there does seem to be a hormone link. Not entirely sure why yet. That's more research to be done. Genetics potentially plays a part. I'm not going to be talking about genetics today. I'm going to be talking about that later on in this series. But there may be, for a very small percentage, a genetic link. One thing that we really need to look at, and my private clients hear me say this all the time, we can't manage what we don't measure. So one of the things that is important when you're looking at your overall health is looking at your blood test results. And I have had 2 sets of blood tests this year, because I really want to keep an eye on my insulin levels and my blood glucose levels, because those are the ones that are going to really impact my brain health. And other inflammatory markers, you heard me talk yesterday about the importance inflammation plays in the development of dementia and how we need to bring our inflammation down. And again, I'm going to be talking about that in later 10-minute trainings as well. And some people kind of say, well, do I need to bother about prevention? Because if it happens to me, I'll just take a tablet and I'll sort it all out. Well, unfortunately, that is not the case with dementia or Alzheimer's disease. There is no tablet, there is no drug that has ever been proved to help. And that's because it's so multifaceted. There's so many different aspects to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. There's never going to be one thing that can cure it, because it's not one thing that's caused it. It's lots of different factors that have led to that person developing dementia or Alzheimer's disease. The tablets and the medications that have been developed so far, none have been effective. And even the ones that have helped to reduce some of the damage to the brain, it hasn't actually made their brain any healthier. It hasn't made their they call it cognitive reserve. It hasn't improved their cognition. It hasn't made them remember anymore. So the answer is prevention. You're going to hear me say this every time. The answer is prevention. Now, unfortunately, conventional medicine as yet, unless you're in the dentistry world who are big on prevention, conventional medicine isn't yet on board with prevention. It hasn't really realised the importance of prevention. It's very good when you're sick, very good if you've had a heart attack or you've had a stroke, but it doesn't do an awful lot to help us prevent it, because I don't think that's really the role of the NHS at the moment. It's too big a thing really for the NHS to be able to cope with prevention. And so I'm not waiting for my symptoms to develop. I'm not waiting until I have a stroke to look after my heart health. I'm not waiting until my memory starts to fade before I think about what am I going to put into place to keep my brain healthy, because I don't want to get to that point. Because I know from everything I've read and from my 25 years in healthcare, by the time you get to that point, you've got a much harder job than if it never happens in the first place. So we need what we call a multifaceted approach, an integrative approach to healthcare. And by that, I mean we need to build up better habits, better lifestyle choices, better diet choices, better movement choices. so that we are always constantly reducing our chances. We're not taking ourselves down that path that's going to lead us to an unhealthy lifestyle. This means putting control back into your hands, and you do have the control in your hands to make those better choices, to decide that you want to live differently, you want to experience life differently. As I said yesterday, I don't want a disease to be controlling me. I don't want to not be able to do the things that I want to do as I get older. And so healthcare really isn't something you're going to find at the doctor's or the chemist. It's up to each and every one of us to look after our own health. Now, I'm very grateful I live in the UK and the NHS is there when we need it for the emergencies and for the crises. But every day we can make better choices to stop ourselves from having to get to that point. And everyday decisions matter. So what choices do you make every day that are maybe not the best for you, that are maybe not helping you to look after your health in the best way? Is it your food choices? Is it your lifestyle choices? Do you know that you drink too much? Do you know that you're smoking and your smoking is not helping you? What are the daily choices that you make that if you really sat and thought about it, you'd think, actually, I need to change those. I need to behave differently. I need to act differently. I need to think differently. Because every day, those choices, those cumulative choices, will have an impact on your health. And you have the control within your own hands to do that. You don't have to rely on somebody else. You might need a bit of guidance, and that's why I work with my private clients, because I can guide you on that pathway. And eventually, particularly when you have an accountability partner like me, those good choices just become part of your everyday life. They just become you because you have adopted the mindset and the attitude of somebody who knows how to look after their health, who wants to look after their health, and who knows what to do. So when you're faced with a choice, you just naturally go to the one that's going to be more beneficial to you. And then whether that's a food choice or a lifestyle choice or a movement choice, or how you want to live your life on a daily basis. And it's the little tiny steps that make the difference. And you will have heard this a million times. I'm sure none of what I'm going to tell you in this little quick training is going to surprise you. Do you take the stairs or do you take the escalator or the lift? How close do you park to the supermarket? Could even that extra minute's walk there and back to your car, that'll make a difference. Are you going to choose the Coca-Cola over the fresh water? You know what those better choices are. And I'm not always saying that those better choices are easy. They're simple, but they're not necessarily easy. And that's where accountability comes in. And that's where additional help comes in. That's why my clients work with me, because they then have a little bit of accountability. But you absolutely do have it within you to be able to look after your own brain health. So as I'm drawing up day 2, finishing up on day 2, do you want to feel like I do and feel like you're in control of your health? Or do you want to wait for your health to take over you? Do you want to feel that you're going to be controlled by medication rather than you deciding that you don't want to be taking a whole cocktail of drugs when you're older? Do you want to be able to walk up that hill when you're older, walk around the park when you're older, climb up the aircraft steps when you're older? Or do you want to be the person who can't climb that hill, who can't climb those steps to get into your aircraft to go on your amazing holiday? I want you to think about the choices that you're making every day and just change one thing. Replace that 1 cup of coffee with a glass of water. Replace that biscuit with something healthier. Little tiny choices every day that make the big, big difference. So thank you for listening. And tomorrow on day 3, I'm going to be sharing your brain health toolkit. Remember to watch me. Bye for now.